thank Brigadier Katoch for inviting me to this conference. The City Conference of India Foundation now is beginning to become a big event, and as I could see on the ground floor and also from the program, large number of experts have gathered, and I think this is a very topical issue. It is also an issue which is becoming increasingly relevant to each individual. In fact, today we are in this panel, we'll be discussing technology and terrorism. And we have an excellent panel who have been introduced. Particularly, I think Dr. Ajay Lele, who has been dealing with these issues for a number of years at the IDSA. He will give us his perspective. He is also a person who has studied technology quite deeply. And we have Mr. Nikitin, who is from Russia. And given the importance of Russia to countering terrorism, and particularly the Russian interventions in Syria, I think we have completely changed the scenario. It is playing a very important role. And we have Mr. Sim Cox, who is well known to you as an expert who has written on terrorism issues. Now, all of you know, I think a few things are known to this audience, and I don't really have to belabor the point. One is that technology has brought terrorism to our homes. Today, you can see on the television, particularly in this age of social media, internet, television, you see how terrorism is growing, how technology is being used, and how terrorism is being made hep by slick propaganda, by recruitments which the law enforcement agencies do not even know about. In other words, it is right in front of us, and yet it is hidden from us. Now, this is something that has happened because of technology. So there are many dimensions to technology, to terrorism, in which technology is playing an extremely important role. And when I say technology, it's not just the social media, it's not just the internet. We're also seeing how in the various dimensions of terrorism, like maritime terrorism also, technology is beginning to play an important role. You look at, for instance, what happened in the Pathankot attacks. The terrorists who came here, they hardly took any help from any local people. They were all guided by the GPS. They had everything completely chalked out. For a very long time, they just did not interact with the local people. So technology is emerging as a great enabler of terrorism. So that's the first point that I think we need to understand. The second is technology has given a tremendous, a wide audience to the terrorists, and which means that things like lone wolf attack, today to do a terrorist attacks, all that you need is a few simple things like the laptop, the access to the internet, and that's about it, more or less. And you can become a terrorist overnight almost. So earlier there used to be terrorism, used to be a far more organized activity than is the case today. So this lone wolf phenomena has become possible because of technology. The third point is that today's terrorist has everything available on the internet for him to do whatever he wants to do, whether it's recruitment, whether it's fundraising, whether it's propaganda, whether it's reaching out to people, what now they call the the narrowcasting. You can target certain kind of audiences, and all this can be done in secrecy, because attribution in internet is so difficult. So you can be doing all these things in secrecy without anybody ever knowing about it. So that's another aspect of terrorism. Then we also see that the Al-Qaeda had been using technologies. In fact, all terrorists have been using technologies for a very, very long time. but it's just the pace or the acceleration that has come about in terrorist activities due to technology. That is, I think, something we have to take note of. Al-Qaeda also used the internet for recruitment, fundraising, and so on and so forth. But at that point of time, there were only a few hundred jihadi websites, for instance. Today, there are thousands. So there is a proliferation. There is a proliferation element, and that is exponentially this is growing. Another aspect is now again that is related to technology is encryption. That means you can do things in a quiet way, in an encrypted way. Nobody can catch you, or if somebody catches you, cannot they cannot really decipher what you're doing. So you have the phenomena or the technology of dark web and dark this huge space of the internet which is not visible to you, and where you can be doing all kinds of things. Funding, which has always been an important element of terrorism, now that also new dimensions have been added, and that is to your cryptocurrencies, your bitcoins, etc. And a lot of this trade, the money laundering, the drug trade, the arms trade, etc., a lot of it is now being done through the dark web and the dark net. So you have these new technologies which have already come, and that is something which terrorists are using with great felicity. And of course, as in the normal life, the young people are very much easily attracted to technology. I mean, we are seeing it's not even apart from terrorism. All these technologies are available to the young, and they are using it in day-to-day life. So this is becoming now a really young people's game. They are whether you are age of 15 plus 25, 35. I think that's the age group in which this technology appeals to them. And it's almost like ISIS. The difference between ISIS and Al-Qaeda perhaps is that ISIS is made terrorism very hip. It's almost like popular terrorism, the way they come out with their magazines, the way they come out and they approach you direct and in a manner which appeals to the young. And hence its appeal has grown quite tremendously. So these are some of the elements I think which we would discuss in this panel. But I want to raise one question to our panel, and I hope they would deliberate over this. I'm sure they have insights into some of the things that I have talked about and something more. But the question that I want to pose to them, which is of great relevance, is what do the law enforcement agencies, what do the societies, what do the governments, whose responsibility is to secure their citizens, what do they do? How do they meet with this challenge? Particularly when the technology has emerged as such a major enabler of terrorism, and there is almost exponential growth in terrorism. We are not going into this panel discussion on the causes of terrorism or the geopolitics of it, etc. That's a subject matter which is being discussed in the conference as a whole. But focusing only on technology, and if terrorism is becoming so easy to conduct, then what do the agencies do? And I see there are two major problems for law enforcement agencies here. One problem that they face is the question of capacity. Do they have within their ranks the capacity to deal with this major technological challenge that is coming in their way? In fact, most of the law enforcement agencies are in the old mindset, recruited in some particular way. They recruit where their people came from different backgrounds. I'm talking at least about India. For them to become technology savvy and actually start using technology is one issue. The second issue is the very expense, to put those systems and then perhaps deal with it. That's another issue. So many law enforcement agencies, perhaps in many countries, do not have that kind of resources. And I think there is a third issue, which is perhaps even more important, which is how does the society react to the countermeasures which the law enforcement agencies may have to undertake. And here is the question of the balance between fighting counterterrorism measures and privacy, etc., which of course from different countries to different countries varies. But in a democratic societies, the kind of countermeasures which the law enforcement agencies, like for instance monitoring, surveillance, etc., that they may have to undertake, there would always be some kind of a resistance coming from within the society. So what do the law enforcement agencies do in such cases, in a situation like this, when technology has emerged as a major enabler of terrorism? So with this, I think, small introduction, I request Dr. Ajay Lilly to come in.